PPE hand protection. Nearly 1/4 of work injuries involve the hands and fingers. Your hands are used in just about every kind of work and therefore are vulnerable to many hazards. In this training session, we will discuss the potential hand hazards in your workplace and the hand protection you're required to use on your job. We will also discuss what can be done to prevent hand and finger injuries. By the end of the training session, you will be able to identify hand hazards, choose appropriate gloves for work tasks, know the limitations of hand protection, use and care for protective equipment. Hands and fingers are complex and versatile tools that we use for so many tasks that we often take them for granted. Think about how difficult it would be to do different tasks listed on the slide if you had a broken finger, severely cut thumb, deep puncture in your palm, or other similar hand injury. Buttoning your shirt, pouring a cup of coffee, eating with a spoon or fork, dialing and using the phone, using hand tools, operating machinery. Hands have the strength and flexibility to squeeze, grasp and hold objects, the coordination necessary for playing the piano and typing, and the sensitivity for touching, feeling pressure and temperature, and performing delicate tasks. Do not take your hands for granted. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration (OSHA) studies have found that nearly 1/4 of work injuries involve hands or fingers. OSHA also found that 70% of workers sustaining hand injuries were not wearing gloves. OSHA found that the other 30% were wearing improper or damaged gloves. We can probably conclude that if we were to wear the gloves, they were the proper gloves for the job, and the gloves were in good condition, then we're not likely to sustain a hand injury. We will spend this training session determining the hand hazards and selecting the proper gloves for the job. Let's use this training session as an opportunity to review the potential hand hazards in our workplace. These are the primary types and causes of hand injuries. We will focus on each of the topics and the specific hazards associated with our workplace in the upcoming slides. Skin absorption of harmful substances, severe cuts and lacerations, severe abrasions, pinches and crushes, punctures, chemical burns, thermal burns. Our skin acts as an excellent barrier to many harmful substances. However, when skin is broken, these substances are more likely to penetrate this barrier and enter our bodies. Almost every type of solvent can be absorbed into the skin. Most solvents will only cause defatting, resulting in dry and chapped hands. Some solvents may cause itching, rashes, or swelling. Other solvents can actually penetrate the skin and get directly into your bloodstream. These solvents can cause damage to internal organs. Exposure to harmful dusts causes skin irritation, which can result in dermatitis or skin rashes. Many of us have used pesticides, insecticides, or fertilizers at home. Many of these products are designed to penetrate the skin of animals or insects and kill them, so they can probably harm us as well. They may impact us after only one use, or they may require years of use before we see symptoms of exposure. Abrasions include mild skin scrapes, severe skin scrapes, tearing of the skin, and even removal of the skin, called degloving. Sanders or grinders with their rotating belts or wheels could cause abrasions from minor scrapes to complete removal of the skin. They must be properly guarded, and tools instead of hands should be used to guide the material into the sander or grinder. Conveyor belts seem harmless. However, they also have rotating belts that could snag your hand and cause severe abrasions. Belt and chain drives are similar to conveyors in that they could catch your hand in a pinch point and damage your skin. Rotating shafts such as cams, flywheels, or spindles can also snag your hand and mangle the skin or break bones. Scrap metal or broken glass can cause severe abrasions or cuts if you were to handle this material with unprotected hands. Never sweep metal or glass pieces with your hands. Always use a broom. Pinches and crushes are probably the most common type of severe hand-finger injury. How many of you have ever smashed your thumb with a hammer? Probably almost everyone has at one time or another. However, gloves do not protect against pinching or crushing your hands. Machine guards protect your hands from getting into the point of operation or the danger zone. Never disable or bypass a machine guard. Lock out all machinery before performing any type of maintenance. Material handling is a common way to pinch or crush your hand or fingers. Setting down or dropping a heavy object on your fingers or pinching your hand between a heavy object and the hand truck used to move it are common ways of injuring your hands. Many people have smashed their fingers in a door. Acids are used in many industries for a number of purposes such as metal etching and cleaning. Most acids will burn the surface of the skin and, depending on the concentration, may cause only mild discoloration of the skin or even severe third-degree burns. Some acids, however, will be absorbed into the skin and attack the bones or other tissue below the skin. Consult the MSDS for specific information about the acids in your workplace. Caustics are also used in many workplaces for water treatment, metal cleaning, or as part of chemical processes. Like acids, these will also burn the skin, the severity depending on the concentration. Cleaning chemicals, especially those purchased for home use, are often corrosive and will burn the skin. Many bathroom and kitchen cleaners are caustic. Some tire and wheel cleaners are 60% to 70% acid. Read the labels to find out about gloves. Carpal tunnel syndrome does not just affect office workers. It is caused when repetitive motions inflame tendons in the wrist and put pressure on the nerves. This results in numbness, weakness, and even pain in the hand, wrist, or elbow. Years of doing the same motion can eventually wear down the hand. Examples of jobs and processes that could lead to carpal tunnel syndrome include mechanics always turning a wrench, carpenters always swinging a hammer, or data entry personnel using a keyboard. Vibration can also damage the hands, causing numbness or other problems. Using hand tools that vibrate, such as drills, pneumatic socket drivers, hand sanders, or rivet guns, can damage the hands over long periods of use. Fractures or compression, which often results in fractures, can occur when using almost any machine or hand tool. Material handling is also a cause of many fractures to the hands when objects are dropped on hands, or the hands are smashed between the object and the door jamb. Employees need to be aware of these potential hazards and understand how to avoid injury. Always inspect your gloves prior to using them. Look for cuts, tears, or punctures. Some gloves may become stiff or discolored after use. Dispose of gloves that are damaged or show signs of wear or chemical degradation. Do not reuse disposable gloves. Avoid secondary chemical exposure by washing the outside of the gloves before removing them with soap and water, and then rinse with water. Carefully remove the gloves and avoid touching the outside of the gloves with your hands. One method to prevent contamination involves pulling the first glove off with the other gloved hand, and then slipping ungloved fingers underneath the cuff of the second glove and removing it. Some gloves can be reused a number of times as long as the inside remains uncontaminated and they are inspected prior to each use. Some gloves will need to be discarded because the chemical they contacted may permeate the material and reach inside the glove in such a way that the inside is contaminated. Be sure to place gloves intended for reuse in a dry and clean area. Hang the gloves in such a way that they will dry out. Although there are other types of gloves that are considered disposable, the term usually refers to thin-walled latex and nitrile gloves commonly used in the healthcare sector. These gloves protect workers from blood-borne pathogens and germs. Until recently, the most common form of disposable glove was made out of latex. Many people are discovering they're allergic or sensitive to latex and cannot wear latex gloves. Nitrile gloves have proved to be comparable to latex. They provide similar protection, dexterity, feel, and often have better tear strength than latex gloves. Latex and nitrile gloves also provide protection from some chemicals at low concentrations and short durations. These disposable gloves easily rip, tear, and puncture. Some tasks may require putting on 2 layers of gloves in case the outside layer tears or rips in the middle of the task. The size of disposable gloves is important. The gloves will tear when putting them on if they're too small, and they will be a hazard if they're too large and loose on your hand. Some general glove use and care instructions include: make sure the gloves fit your hand properly. Gloves that are too small will limit your hand's mobility and could tear. Gloves that are too big will limit your dexterity. Hands should be clean before using gloves. If you put dirty or greasy hands inside your gloves, you're subjecting your hands to potential irritation because dirt and chemicals are being rubbed into your skin inside the glove. Fabric and leather gloves should be cleaned regularly or discarded. Before wearing, inspect gloves for damage. Replace gloves if they have tears, holes, or other minor defects. Make sure gloves are the right length for the job. Do not use fabric or leather gloves on liquid chemicals because the material will soak up the chemical. If your gloves are heavily contaminated, if you handled extremely toxic chemicals, or if you were not able to clean the gloves, it is important that you know how to remove them safely. In addition to the method described on this slide, other methods include using inner gloves or asking another employee to remove them. The goal is to prevent your bare hands from touching the outside contaminated surface of your gloves. Grasp the outside of the glove, near the cuff, on one of your hands with the other gloved hand. Pull the glove off. Now insert fingers from the hand without a glove under the cuff of the glove on your other hand. Begin to pull the glove off, then grasp the inside, clean surface of the glove and pull it off your other hand. Protect against dermatitis by always washing your hands after removing gloves, especially after working with a chemical. Use skin moisturizers to replace natural oils and prevent dryness and cracking. Use barrier creams to protect against mild chemicals that could potentially irritate the skin and cause rashes. Know the potential hand hazards in your workplace. Understand the types of gloves needed to protect against chemicals in your workplace. Keep hands out of a machine's dangerous